Lay on back and relax because it's time to talk about the facts in the next iteration of Desura's weekly release highlights. Just in case you've been stuck out of the house, indisposed, or otherwise off the interwebs, we've got all the juicy tidbits about this week's offerings through the Desura service. So settle on in and prepare the hankies because this might get a tad dribbly. Sporting the most literal of names, HTR Slot Car Simulation boosts on scene this week and gives gamers a guide to high-powered rides through simulated slot car racing. Developed by Libridia for the Windows operating system, HTR Plus allows the player to customize their own slot car from the ground up and toy around with a massive level editor, multiplayer, and a full-on physics system to boot. Once done, settle in for a high-speed drive through over 100,000 player and developer-created tracks built to break in your ride. Bring the competition down to size in HTR Slot Car Simulation, available now for $19.99 through Desura. Well, you had one job to do and somehow you mucked it up. After being entrusted with a relic set to send a nasty demon off to sleep, you've up and got yourself robbed and lost it. Now there's only one way to fix the problem, and it's a sprawling adventure filled with all sorts of tiring tasks, like stabbing, looting, walking, and menu crawling to get that demon ambient back into its proper receptacle. And so the stage is set for the Book of Legends, a new old-school RPG on offer from Alderley Games. If your walking shoes haven't quite felt the road in a while, or your hands have become shaky from a lack of loot, check out Book of Legends this week on the Desura service, available now for $12.99 on the Windows operating system. Nostalgia, television lines, and jetpacks are boxed up with 8 bits in this week's feature of Jet Force, a 2D platformer carrying on the run-and gun genre with copious quantities of quality in both running and gunning categories. Carry yourself rightward across a number of stages, each gilded with guns gleaming for your gathering, and apply them vigorously against the foes who stand in your way. Too late for saves, litter your house with loads of paper scraps, keeping codes just like we did back in the 80s. It was super awesome. It was like the house you have now, only with more quickly scrawled codes and trash on your coffee table. Jet Force, available now for $2.99 on the Windows operating system. Exploration is the name of the game in the Moon Sliver, an exploration horror game set on an island filled with lush scenery, a relaxing surf, and a blood-curdling creature craving your demise. Do your best to keep your bloody bits intact and work your way around the island while uncovering clues organically through exploration. Featuring dimly lit rooms, lightly wafting desert grasses, and masses of never-ending sand dunes, the Moon Sliver is ready to make your acquaintance this week for $2.99 on the Windows operating system. Check out the Moon Sliver, where long walks on the beach may be a whole new kind of resume builder. Old houses, hauntings, and unexplained occurrences have had a long love tryst with one another, and it's time for another midnight rendezvous featuring those familiar ingredients. Wooden Floor is next up on our list and leaves players wandering through an ancient house which groans and shifts with every movement. That door you opened, did it lead there before, or has it moved? Were there 4 rooms in this corridor, or were there 2? What once was no longer is every time you turn around, which leads to a surreal, disorienting horror experience which will leave you looking over your shoulder for days to come. Wooden Floor, available this week on Desura for $6.99 and compatible with the Windows operating system. Take a dip into the dead and damned in Coma, Mortuary, a game which chronicles the post-mortem meanderings of a suicidal man trapped in the underworld. Now he must work his way through the land of the dead, all without suffering the wrath of their ghastly castle doctrine. If a midnight stroll through horror-hewn hauntings is what you've been hungering for, check out Coma Mortuary, available on Desura this week for $1.99. Coma Mortuary is compatible with the Windows operating system. Dig into some astronomical fun in Age of Asteroids, a game centered around, you guessed it, big old floating hunks of space rock. Deep down in the vacuous crevice between Jupiter and Mars, there's a whole lot of pebbles floating around, and it's your job to uncover their goodies. Make those asteroids blush as you dive deep into their crust on a quest for minerals to further ensure your survival in space. However, as with all good things, someone is more than likely going to come along and kick down your sandcastle, so defend it well and plan your moves accordingly. Age of Asteroids Early Access is awaiting strategy enthusiasts for $9.99 on the Windows operating system. I try to be positive, but at this point the glass is neither half full nor half empty, it is totally gone. If you enjoyed this week's episode of Desura's weekly release highlights, be sure to drop us a like or a comment and subscribe to stay inside the circle of trust throughout the coming weeks as we bring you more and more gaming goodness. Additionally, check out our website listed in the description below if you want more morsels about any of the titles featured today. We'll see you in next week's episode of Desura's weekly release highlights. Take care out there, everybody.